Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I am going to be talking to Marnie Foderaro. And to make sure that you don't ever miss any episodes, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button right now. Welcome, Marnie. So excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on Write or Die.
Yes. And I think, is that a virtual background?
This is a virtual background.
I love it though.
Well, I live in the Caribbean, and when I do the interviews, the time difference is so unique that sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's light. I just have to have a virtual
background. What time is it for you right now?
It is 11 o'clock a.m.
Okay, so you're only an hour ahead of me then.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad. The Caribbean, oh, I'm kind of jealous with all this crazy COVID lockdown stuff. We haven't been able to go on our vacations, which are normally to Caribbean islands.
Well, I am on a permanent vacation in the Caribbean, so.
Nice. So, okay, now I'm getting curious. What made you, well, first off, were you born there?
No, I was born in Miami, Florida, and actually spent my entire life in the Chicago suburbs. So I grew up in Lake Forest, Illinois, and went off to college in Illinois. And then I raised my family, my two children, in Fox River Grove, Barrington, Illinois. And when I decided, I was getting close to retirement. I was a high school teacher for 35 years in the Chicago suburbs. 12 of those years, I was an adjunct professor at Northern Illinois University in the curriculum department. But I had a major life change. I was married, and I didn't realize, but I was married to an abuser. And so I chose, after 27 years, to divorce my abuser. And when I knew I needed to get as far away as possible from him, but at the same time, I was starting a new chapter in my life, and I wanted to go where I wanted to go. And I love being surrounded by the ocean and sunshine and different cultures. And so I chose the Virgin Islands, but part of it was to get as far away from my abuser as possible, just for my own safety. You know, abusers, once they know, they kind of ramp up their game, and your safety becomes compromised. Even though I filed for divorce in 2013, my abuser is still taking me to court and still stalking me and harassing me. And it's so at least I have a little bit of distance between us. Being in the Caribbean. So anyway, but I love living here. Yeah. It's a wonderful new chapter in my life.
So you said you had kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how do they feel about coming to visit mom in the Caribbean?
I don't think they will be coming to visit. I think this is my island. Yeah. So
I'm going to be all over that. If my mom lived in the Caribbean, I'd be like, right? I'm coming to visit like all the time.
Right. No, there's been no interest expressed at all. And that's okay. That's all right. I'm happy to be here living my life. So, and writing books, and a lot of great things are happening for me. So,
well, as long as great things are happening.
But I finally put the pieces of the family trauma puzzle together, and now I get it. And so I have decided that the year 2022 is the year I let go of negativity, toxicity, very malevolent individuals, whether they're family or friends. Yep, I am just starting fresh, which is wonderful. And a big thing I'm doing this year is honoring my mother. And I'm writing. I'm involved in my 6th anthology book, Tammy Morrison's Passing the Pearls, where we honor our grandmothers. And I will be honoring my mother and letting her know in heaven that I figured it out, and I am honoring her, and I'm stopping the abuse. It's over now with me.
Good. And so let's follow this train of thought, because I'm sure that is where our mental health discussion is going to take us is to this trauma, this abuse. So start your story wherever it is that you are comfortable to talk about it.
Well, like I had mentioned, I had realized after 27 years I was in an abusive marriage and I needed to escape. And, unfortunately, I just followed my gut feeling, my gut reaction, and just got the heck out as fast as I could, not knowing that I would lose everything: my house, all my money, my adult children to parental alienation, all my belongings, my assets, and luckily I don't value material things like many people do. So I believe in, we can't take it with us, and that
exactly.
we are all in this vibration of love, and I'm in a vibration of goodness and honesty, and those values, are like my integrity. That is what is important to me. So I could lose everything, and believe me, losing adult children to parental alienation is devastating, and because of that, I am bringing awareness to this unfortunate family trauma. But you know what? I'm good in knowing the kind of person that I am and what I'm all about. And my books have been well received, and people are realizing that our voices matter. And so speaking up on abuse, not necessarily letting it define us, and not being in the victim role, because I'm neither of those, but realizing that that was part of my journey to help me self-actualize. And then just fairly recently, in my 60s, I put the pieces of the puzzle together of my own intergenerational abuse, realizing that my father was extremely abusive to my mother, doing a lot of the same things that abusers do. But back then, when he had her committed to mental institutions and had her shock treatment done and just discounted her and gaslit her to make her believe that she was not worthy or intelligent, when my mom was one of the most intelligent people I have ever met in my entire life. And, she unfortunately was not a survivor, and she was not equipped like many of us are now, because now, the stigma has been lifted some, and we can talk about our challenges and realize that that's part of our journey. She had a real hard time, but you know what, Mama, I figured it out. And
I'm sure she's so proud of you for that.
She is. I feel blessed.
I mean, like you were saying, now people have a lot more awareness about it. And we have, as women, as wives, we have a lot more autonomy than back when your mom would have been going through it. Back then, wife would have been her identity.
Yes.
Right? Wife, mother, those were the labels. Now we can be, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, but I'm also a writer, I'm a host, I'm like other things. I'm a creative person. I'm just, right. You can be more yourself. You don't have to identify by your partner.
Right. And my mother was kind of ahead of her time back when she was, younger and a young teacher and a college professor herself.
Wait, so she was a teacher too?
She was, yeah. She was an English teacher, and she was, in fact, in Broward County, Florida. So but she also, a lot of women in her era did not go on to pursue advanced degrees. And she went on to get her master's at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And actually, it was there that she really met the love of her life. Not my father, but she met this amazing man from India that my partner Rick and I had the pleasure of meeting before he transitioned. We spent a month in India, and we planned the whole trip around meeting my mom's this love of her life. And
Oh, that's so lovely.
it was wonderful. And his wife was so understanding of the whole situation. And it was kind of like it all came full circle. So we got to spend some amazing time with this man. And I got to actually, through him, see a side of my mom that I never knew. But I just feel like, God put me on this path, and the fact that I could actually meet him and connect with him before he transitioned, I feel that it was all meant to be. But my mom was definitely ahead of her time. She was an amazing writer with a lot of wit.
Oh, she was a writer too.
And yes, she was a writer and ended up being a reporter at one point, but she just was very creative and had a way with words. And I feel that somehow I'm channeling her, she's channeling me, whatever. We're in this together now. So
that's awesome.
I got my mama back.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. We often hear about parental alienation with divorces when the kids are really young.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time I've heard of it with adult children, because I would assume, and obviously wrongly so, but I would assume as an adult, the child, it wouldn't be able to be alienated by the other parent or whatever, because you're an adult, you can make decisions for yourself. You know both of your parents by now. So can you explain that one to me? And
I would be happy. I would be happy to talk about this, because definitely awareness needs to be made about parental alienation with adult children. Before I even go into that, I'd like you to realize that the abusers, the alienators, are very much like a cult leader. Yeah. And so when you think of cults, you can think of adults being brainwashed.
It's true. Yeah.
Okay. And that's very similar to what they do. They will do outright lies. They will implant false memories. They will, tell stories with half-truths in them. So, it's sort of believable or very believable, but then they'll throw in some very malevolent, damaging, false information that could ruin a person. And this is not a gender specific thing. This happens to both dads and moms. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the kids are the ones that really, really suffer, because that abusing, alienating parent is really abusing their children. This is considered child abuse. But, you were asking about how can an adult child be alienated? In my case, I was close to my daughter until she was 20 years old. I was her Girl Scout Gold leader. I was her number one fan. She had challenges, just like all kids have challenges in their lives, but I always did everything to make her feel good about herself and worthy. And I definitely was a mom who encouraged creative outlets with
art. So as a writer.
Yeah, but also just with art projects or nature walks or travel and experiencing different things. So yes, my daughter, you would think would have just figured it out, and actually she was witness, and my son as well. They were witness to the verbal and then eventual physical abuse from my ex-husband. So they're not like, but I think that kids don't want to see certain things. They want to believe.
This is true.
They want to believe both their parents have their back, or that have good intentions, or that they're all working towards the family. And I believe that too. Look at me. I stayed married for 27 years. And, but I actually, in some ways, that was a blessing in disguise, because if I would have left my abuser earlier, I would have maybe lost out on such wonderful bonding experiences with my children.
That's true.
But yes, children can be brainwashed. They also can be bought out. They also can be threatened indirectly.
Okay, yeah.
The abusers want to control their kids. Lots of times their kids are either an extension of themselves that they are trying to live
Mhm.
through these children.
Yes, that
Um,
happens more than I want to
oh
believe.
yeah. Oh, like for example, a mother who was always into like beauty pageants or something might put their daughter in a beauty pageant and
Yeah, it
put
happens
them
all the time.
right,
All the time.
or a father who wanted to be a star basketball player but was really not good, and had no skill, but he would possibly want his son to be the star basketball player in the same position with the
Oh,
same jersey number and everything.
oh, of course.
I
It has
mean,
to all be the same, or else you
right.
can't live vicariously through them.
That's what they're doing. So sometimes these abusers want to live vicariously, like you're saying, through their children. But sometimes these abusers are so into their public image, which is all false, fake, it's a
Yeah.
fraud. But they want to keep up that narrative. So having a family and a white picket fence, perfect neighborhood,
Yeah.
house with a wife that has been with them for over 2 decades, gives that image that abuser is really someone that they really aren't. That's what they want to be, but they're
Yeah.
not. They're not good people.
Yeah.
They don't have good intentions. Not that people can't change or whatever. And sometimes people do. They get into an awareness and they realize the wrongs that they have done and they make amends. But most of the time, these people are undiagnosed. They're definitely fall on that cluster B personality disorder.
Mhm.
They don't take ownership, where empathetic, loving people realize their role in things. They realize, hey, I was kind of damaged by my own dad, my own family situation.
Yeah.
And so I had to play out the different roles until my light bulb came on. So
Yeah.
yes, adult children can be alienated. Just the only good thing about that, there's nothing good about alienation, but the
Yeah.
only good thing is that as a targeted parent, you're not dealing with custody. You're not dealing with
Yeah.
being falsely arrested and put in jail. You're not dealing with trying to co-parent.
That's
you know,
true.
but
Yeah.
it's still a loss. But at this point, I really firmly believe that God has a plan, and that these children of mine, they have their own journey they have to go on, and they have to have their
Mhm.
own light bulbs go on, and it will happen. It may not happen in this lifetime, but it'll happen sometime. But
Yeah.
I can live in peace knowing that I was the absolute best mom that I ever could be. It was my favorite role in my entire life.
Yeah.
And but I have it in perspective at this point, I think.
That's good. That's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay, so when did you, obviously you didn't get married going, "Oh, this guy abuses me. I'm gonna get
Not
hitched."
at all.
No, and that's normal. Like people don't plan their life with somebody that they know is abusing them,
Not at
right?
all. I was love bombed. I really
Yes.
believed that he was my knight in shining armor. And I went along, even though even before the marriage, there were red flags I should have paid attention to.
Yeah.
I was so just I was in a tunnel vision. I wanted to be married and have a family. That is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I ignored all of those things. So no, I did not go in knowing that he was an abuser. 10 years in, I knew things weren't completely right. I knew of the infidelities, I knew of the money manipulations, the forgeries, the lies, stuff like that. I still didn't make a
Yeah.
move.
And I think that's really important for people to understand when we're talking about bringing awareness to these situations is so often when we're not the ones in the situation, we look at a situation and go, well, why didn't you just get out of it? How did you not know?
Mhm.
And it's not as easy as that because, like you said, they love bomb you. And that's a term that I've heard a few times. right?
Mhm.
They give you all of this affection, all of this love. And so you think that that's who they really are, this very caring, loving person. And all of these slights that start happening, well, you can write them
Yeah.
off because that's not actually who they are. They're this kind, loving person that I
Right,
first met.
right. They're just trying to help me by telling me that this friend is no good or that this thing that I like is wrong.
Yeah,
In
you need to
addition to
lose
the
a
love.
little weight. You need to,
Right, right.
yeah,
Why don't you fix your hair differently or whatever? But
exactly.
what they also do is they slowly gaslight you to believe that you didn't see things the way you saw them or understand them,
So
or that
gaslighting,
there's gaslighting
it,
big time.
yes, it's a term that I've had on the show before, and I always ask the guest because we always have new people tuning in. Can you
Sure.
explain what gaslighting is?
Gaslighting is a very purposeful, methodical, calculated strategy that an abuser will use to slowly discount and devalue their target. So they will make them, it actually, gaslighting comes from the 1944 movie Gaslighting, where the husband would slowly dim the gas lights so that
Oh,
the wife kind of thought, wait a minute, I thought I turned the lights on. And then he would take her keys and he would move them to a different location. And then he would find them in that location saying, look, here they are, right where you put them, when really he put them there.
yeah.
So it's all part of a strategy to make you feel like, just to question your own, brain.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was a time I was gaslit by my ex-husband and one of his many girlfriends. She was over at the house. I mean, even that alone should have been a red flag. Like,
Well, it was definitely a red flag. We were just closing our eyes to it at that time.
right, I was closing my eyes, but I remember this girl that was a work relationship, supposedly, and they probably did have some work relationships. That's probably how they met. But anyway, this affair went on, and actually, my children, I think, are pretty well aware of this particular affair. But this woman went on to say, you know what? We work together. We're really good friends. Don't you remember? And I'm thinking, no, I don't remember being good friends with you. And I don't remember working with you. Oh, yeah, you must have forgotten. So the gaslighting was carried over even by, this triangulated person in our marriage. And so gaslighting is definitely something that abusers use to make their victims, their targets, question themselves. So then what they'll do then is they'll step back and kind of defer all responsibility to the abuser, and that abuser in the meantime is isolating them. So
Yes.
isolation is a big part of it. They slowly get you to move away from your friends and family. They even isolate you from like the music that you like to listen to or something. They'll put down your music, or they'll put down, food that you like to make or eat. Or I mean, it's bizarre what they do.
Yeah.
And so they've got the gaslighting, the isolation, and then they do the smearing where they kind of talk bad about you to other people. And all of that just contributes to you, kind of losing your identity. And then the bottom line that they do, which is very, very common, is they make you dependent on them. So they want you to quit your job. They want you to go on disability, even though you have no reason to be on disability. They want you to, they want to control all the money because they're doing a lot of bad things with the money. And it's
that control, right? Like if they can control you,
right,
then you can't leave them. If you are so dependent on them,
Yeah.
that you cannot financially leave them, and you don't, and all of a sudden you're isolated from your friends, from your family. You have no one to call to help you.
Right.
You
Right. You have
need
no
them.
support system. I know of a man, I met a man through all this awareness and stuff. You know, he's such a good man. He wanted to stay home and support his wife. And stay home with the kids and that kind of thing. She eventually made it so that he didn't even have a car to go to the grocery store. He didn't have a checking account. Now, you would think a grown man would, not put up with that or,
Yeah.
chime in. But you know what? Abuse is so subtle and so calculated. And, good people don't think like criminals, and what we're
Exactly.
dealing with are criminals.
And when you're talking about kids involved as well,
Yeah.
how do you up and leave them? You want to you would hope that you can make a plan to take them with you. But then if you have no one to call, you've got no financials,
Right.
it's very difficult. And you're talking about it, this man that it's happened to, it's even more difficult for men because they don't have shelters to go to.
No,
Right?
You don't see men's shelters, you see women's shelters.
Exactly.
And that really needs to be equalized because there are so many men that are abused by very undiagnosed, narcissistic, controlling women that, have a different agenda in why they are with this person,
Today's episode is sponsored by J&L Flooring and Decor Center in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. We just got the floors in our house completely redone by J&L Flooring, and they look amazing. The floors that we used to have were they were just really ugly, and these ones are absolutely beautiful. They're exactly what I wanted in the price range that I needed. The best part is that they're super durable. I have 7 animals, right? 3 dogs and 4 cats. The floors need to be durable, and these ones are perfect. They're super easy to clean because one of those animals is still a puppy and he has accidents. Nothing's leaking through to my basement. It was happening with my old floors. You'd come downstairs and there'd be this little drip and a little puddle. Not a good thing. So, not to mention that the staff there are so friendly, very helpful. They can explain all of their different floors, the laminate, the tile, the hardwood, everything, carpets. They've got it all there, and the staff know what they're talking about. They also make these really beautiful epoxy tables there. My husband wants one so bad. They are gorgeous. If you need new flooring, then you need to go and talk to J&L Flooring. Tell them you saw this on the Right or Die show and see what they've got in stock. You want to check out jandlflooring.com or just go visit them at 4424 Montrose Road, Niagara Falls, Ontario. You're not going to be disappointed.
And, also good, loving, honest, empathetic people like ourselves, we would like to believe that children should have both parents in their lives. I never once slandered my ex-husband. I never once discouraged my children from getting together with them. In fact, when I filed for divorce in December, I immediately invited him over to say, please spend the holidays with us as a family. And, but they would have nothing to do with it because once you discard them,
that's it.
All or nothing. It's black or white. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But we would like to think that, and I still firmly believe that children, even adult children, need both parents in their lives. I want my children to have a relationship with their father. Yeah. But the thing is, I would love for some light bulbs to go on so that they are aware of what they're dealing with so they can protect themselves and not have to go through a lifetime of trauma.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, most kids of parental alienation do have a journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's then kind of fast forward a little bit. Sure. And when was it that you finally realized, wow, this is abuse?
The light bulb moment happened over pizza.
Oh.
At a local pizza place when my ex unintentionally confessed to some really wrongdoings and stealing our our children's money, and it was just so bizarre. It was so bizarre that made my light bulb go on. And for someone who usually has no problem talking and communicating, I went radio silent. And I just thought, oh my God, this is, it's one thing for me to be abused and but choosing to stay in it, but it's another thing to cross that line to the children. So that was my light bulb moment. And it was just a day or two after that, the emotional abuse turned physical abuse. So I was physically attacked, very much assaulted, and shoved up against a wall. And this is what I was told. Don't you dare divorce me. And if you divorce me, I will take your house, your money, and your children. And then I thought, wow. I didn't say anything. I was scared shitless. I was scared to death. Because abusers will murder you. Yeah, you read about
it. Happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yep.
So I'm putting it on record. If I am ever found dead, even if it's by the hands of, someone so unrelated to my ex-husband, it's all related to my ex-husband. I actually am in concern for my safety. And if there was any kind of justice, I would have a permanent order of protection against my abuser, because, they will murder you or have someone else. They won't get their hands dirty. But they will get someone else to do the dirty work.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and
it happens all the time.
So sad. And even
I was thinking, like, who says that? Like, don't you dare divorce me. Any reasonable person would say something like, oh, I'm sorry that, I upset you. Let's work on this, or whatever. They would keep the whole thing going. Or maybe he just knew it was enough was enough. Yeah, I don't know, but who threatens you like that? That was so bizarre. And then, of course, when they do that and you file for divorce, that's when the real abuse happens, is afterwards.
Yeah, you really have to ideally have that plan in place that once you go through with that divorce, you are protected in some way, because somebody who is going to abuse you, somebody who is going to threaten you like that, yes. They're going to come after you.
Yes,
They've already shown that they are aggressive.
Yes.
They already have shown their
and they want
colors.
to keep up that narrative. It doesn't matter. Like, even with my father, he's in his 90s, keeping up a narrative, very subtly, but trying to keep up that same narrative. I'm not buying it anymore. I'm done. I'm not buying it. I get it now. I get it, Mom. I get it. But I'll tell you, the abusers, they want to keep up that false narrative. They're trying to save face as much as they can. They can even be involved in so many different kinds of smear campaigns to try to sabotage your life, your success, your happiness.
Exactly.
And, luckily, I feel I'm in a good place right now, but I have to readily admit that I do have concerns for my safety.
Yeah. Which is why you moved so far away.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So you had your light bulb moment. A couple of days later, you had this threatening. How long did it take you to go from that to the divorce?
I filed immediately.
Okay.
But it was like, 13, 14 lawyers later. Seriously, anyone who is dealing with an abuser will not be shocked to hear that there are more than 10 lawyers involved in a divorce that does not even involve minor children.
Yeah.
And doesn't even involve large sums of money or property. In fact, I was always told our house was paid off, hoping I could just kind of stay in the home for stability for the kids when they wanted to go off to college or work or whatever. Oh no, the house was in foreclosure. He hadn't paid property taxes. So really, I was just completely blindsided by what I thought was my reality. It was not. Yeah.
Yeah. So where were you during this situation?
Well, I actually stayed at the house because I was ordered to make sure that it was in good condition to do a short sale or whatever. And luckily, I only looked at one other. I had no place to go. I had no friends or family that would take me in. It was just I was homeless. Okay.
Yeah.
I was homeless and I couldn't even really live out of my car because my car was in such bad shape. Of course, he had a brand new car with everything up to date and perfect.
Obviously.
Yes, yeah, but I couldn't even live out of my car. But a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine who ends up being my life partner, who has just been the biggest blessing in my life. He helped me be independent and find a place where I could stay. And it was very close to the school where I taught and a tennis club. Actually, I met him at a tennis club, but I tutored at this place. It was a beautiful, wonderful place for me to heal. Good. And so I did that. But then when it came time where I had no money to be able to purchase the home, at this given time after 3 years or so. But it was just the perfect time where Rick and we had traveled the world and decided we wanted to go somewhere together. And we decided on the Caribbean. So the timing worked out just beautifully to move to the Caribbean at that time. That's awesome. I've been here almost 3 years. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after you finally, had your stable place to live, you're talking about starting your healing. Yes. What did you do in order to heal from all of this?
Oh my gosh. Well, I ate a lot of good food because I love food. And I did puzzles. I know that sounds kind of strange.
No, I love puzzles.
But I did puzzles and I would say to myself, and I would just pick up a puzzle for $1 at the Goodwill.
Yeah.
I was always made to believe we didn't have any money, even though obviously we had a lot of money. But, so I would shop at Goodwill or resale shops or garage sales, kind of like my spiritual fiction, God came to my garage sale, which you can't see because of the green screen. But anyway, yeah, there it is. God came to my garage sale. But, I told myself, when I woke up in the morning, if I can just do one puzzle piece before I teach, before I go off to work and go off to school, then I've accomplished something in my day if I've just done one puzzle piece. So I did that one puzzle piece and sometimes a few more, but that was very calming for me. And it was I felt like I gave myself like little rewards, just even making that one puzzle piece fit really helped. So what did I do to heal? I ate good food. I worked on restorative sleep. I exercised. So I was always swimming. Which is perfect for me because I swim in the ocean almost every day. But but I was swimming at a pool, but I was in the Chicago suburbs, so it would be snowing out, but I could go next door and swim and play tennis. So I did the things that I knew would be good for my body as far as organic foods, exercise, sleep, and that type of thing. The puzzle situation worked out beautifully for me. Yeah. In fact, at that point in my life, I might have in the previous life had a reaction of going shopping or, getting a new outfit for myself or, having a spa day or something like that. And that, first of all, money-wise, I didn't have that, but I was actually in the mode of wanting to shed things, not to accumulate anything more.
Yes.
And then actually what was very healing during this 3-year period that I was, still teaching trying to navigate the legal abuse, the constant legal chaos. I was left, of course, my ex-husband just left everything. He could care less about the kids' stuff or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was left with all the kids' artworks and writings and photographs and projects. And so I spent a good part of those 3 years organizing all of my children's belongings. And even though they were not in my life, my children, I still felt I'm a mom and I am the best mom for them. And I felt very connected by doing what I did, by organizing all their photographs and all the Christmas cards I organized and all their childhood, school photos. And so I made scrapbooks and just put a lot of order to all of this stuff. And so that was extremely healing. And I know there are a lot of moms and dads that still have that on their to-do list. Hey, my kids are in their 40s and I still haven't organized their school pictures, but at least I was fortunate enough that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And
the 1 year
so
for Christmas.
Yeah,
the 1 year for Christmas. That's what I did for my mom is I organized all the school pictures because they just kind of sit in a box and that's where they're stored.
Right. But now I feel like, that was something I always wanted to do. And, I was almost kind of in a position where I was forced to do that. And I was glad that I did, because I didn't need to bring any of that here with me to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
That is their life.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So the one question I want to finish with before we start talking about your book is, what advice would you give somebody who is having a light bulb moment?
Okay. Well, I would say for sure, pick up Tracy A. Malone's new book, which is called Divorcing Your Narcissist. You can't make this shit up. And it's about the covert tricks that these abusers do. So I would say one of the first things to do is pick up Tracy A. Malone's book, Divorcing Your Narcissist, because that will be a plethora of information with many, many experts that are chiming in with their advice. So like I could offer some advice, but, I'd rather I'm so into books and reading and research and knowledge that I would like to offer that as the suggestion, because that will open the door to lots and lots of pearls of wisdom and advice.
That's good.
So, and it's from everything from trying to find a lawyer that understands narcissism or parental alienation. I'm still actually stalked and harassed by one lawyer that turned out to be very ineffective and very corrupt, and actually continues the abuse as if they're on the same side as the abuser. So, but then again, I've met an amazing lawyer who gets it and understands what narcissism and parental alienation is, and understands the underhanded tricks that the abusers do, the false allegations, the forgeries, the fake information. So there are some good ones out there, but in Tracy's book, they address legal things, they address emotional things, physical things, custody, finances, just anything and everything that you can think of. So that would be my best advice, is to pick up her book and pick and choose what works for you.
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. So now let's talk about your book.
Sure. Well, I've got a lot of books out there.
Yes,
actually.
but I know you have a recenty one.
Right. A 4-book series called True Deceit, False Love. Now, God, the screen.
I think you gotta like tilt it a little bit forward.
I don't know. It's not going to happen. I don't think I can do it. Anyway, there it is.
Right there, right there.
There it is. Okay. True Deceit, False Love is my 4-book series. And the first book, which was prominently endorsed by Dr. Jennifer Harmon, a parental alienation researcher out of Colorado. My foreword was written by Dr. Sam Vaknin, who is a self-proclaimed narcissist who has actually coined many of these terms, as well as Lisa A. Romano, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and Tracy Malone, whose book I told you you should get, and Tamara Gerstemeyer Sweeney, one amazing, very brave, strong woman who has been alienated from her 4 children for 10 years and is still in the court systems with her abuser. But she has a wonderful sailing vessel called Agape Love Dominates, where she is going around the world spreading the word of love and goodness, and just actually started Patreon so that she can hopefully start getting some resources to help provide safe houses for the many men and women that find themselves, after being totally used and abused by an abuser to try to get back on their feet. But this series, True Deceit, False Love, the first book, it was put out in September, and it is 15,555 terms and phrases on domestic violence, narcissistic abuse, and parental alienation. So really just reading these terms, and we throw around terms all the time in this community. It's instead of it being a glossary or a dictionary, it's more that, hey, this is the term, and you look it up to see how it applies to your situation. And I have found that doing your own grassroots research while you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together is really aiding in your healing. Yeah. And so that book has been doing very, very well. And probably within a week or at the most 2, the next 2 books will come out. Books 2 and 3. One is on acrostic poetry, where I use 13 of these different terms and phrases, and I put them in an acrostic poetry form. So it's informational, but it's also tugs at your heartstrings and your experiences to help connect the dots. It's not my story. Yeah. It's all of our stories. It's a story of any role. It can be a grandparent that is alienated. It could be a child. It could be a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a partner. It doesn't really matter. All the situations are general enough that, and I use, nothing is specific. I'm not telling my story or the story of anyone in particular. These are all fictitious, all made up, but they're generally done so that you can get the examples to bring home the point of what it is. And then the third book is actually a survivor's workbook. So if someone finds that writing or the use of these words is healing for them, they can have their own workbook. So they have an example of an acrostic poem, a couple other suggested terms, and then there's room for them to write their own acrostic poetry to sort of get their, feelings out, to deal with the emotions, because we can't have them bottled up inside. No, we need to express, what we're going through and make sense of this abuse, because, we're good people, and it's very hard to believe that there are people that actually purposely want to cause you harm, but there are. Right. There are. And, this is a way to help take care of yourself. So anyway, I'm so excited. The books are already in the content review at the publisher, and
Oh,
they'll be good to go
wow.
soon. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so where do people pick these up?
Well, definitely Amazon. And, the first book is $15.55. I did the play on the numbers. But Amazon, and you can even do like an e-version for $3.99,
Yeah.
So if money, and believe me, I know with abuse survivors, we lose everything. We lose everything, and money is part of it. So for just $3.99, you can get the e-version of the book. It is also at Barnes and Noble. And then my publisher is Balboa Press, which is Hay House. It's a division of Hay House. So you can find my books there as well. And actually, my book is in hundreds of bookstores around the world. I actually thought it was just the United States, but I have heard from people in England and Ireland and in India and in Italy that my book is on their bookshelves, on the bookstores. So that's awesome. And they have this book, God Came to My Garage Sale. In order to find me, I'm not on social media, but I do have a website, which is the title of my award-winning spiritual fiction, God Came to My Garage Sale.
All right.
So there you will find all the happenings, the interviews, the book signings,
Perfect.
Yeah, that type of thing. And I try to highlight other people that are making a big difference in the world with trying to help people become the best version of themselves. And so not only in my happenings section do I show like what I'm involved in, I will highlight some other influencers that are making a difference. Yeah.
Nice.
I think we all need to support one another.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many easy, free ways to do that, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't mean that you have to be paying a whole lot. I mean, even just recommending a book to somebody or liking a page or a post or whatever, it can go a long way.
Sure it can. Sure.
So thank you so much for being on this show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and just having a platform like this, and best of luck with all your new techie endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, thank you, Marnie. This is such an important topic. We really need to get the word out there because it can happen over time. It's not like you meet this person, you fall in love with somebody who's hitting you. Often it is that love bombing turning into something very toxic and very harmful. And so we need to be understanding of the situation and be there to help people if they need the help. And I think the first step is if somebody tells you that they are in need of help, believe them, right? If you're going, oh no, I've seen your husband or wife, right? Because there's no gender to it. I've seen them. They're fine. They love you so much. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And so we need to believe that what they're telling us is the truth. And if they need some kind of strategy to get out, then we need to be there to support them through that. So with that being said, if you do know supports around your local area, it's always good to make sure that you're up to date with that information. Women's shelters, unfortunately, really, I don't know of any men's shelters, but some places do have family ones, or even just the homeless shelters. Contact information for counselors can be very helpful as well. So again, thanks for tuning in. And if you want to support the show, we do have a merch store. Here's one of the designs on this awesome cup. This one was actually done by my brother. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how long ago. It's he did it. It's in airbrush. It's airbrush that he did. It's a big poster I have of a dog that we had when we were younger named, this one was Ludicrous. So you can pick that up in the merch store. 10% of the proceeds from that would go back to addiction services. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.